You're listening to New Youth Radio, a show about global culture and local youth.
Record.
So today in the studio we have Mark, and he's part of the program Control This. So can you tell us what this is about?
Control This is a short sort of mini project where we will be exploring improvisation and digital culture, really. And the idea is to bring some NPCs into the community and have us design different routines and improvise routines using the digital samples on the NPCs.
And so for the people that don't know what an NPC is, can you describe what it is?
An NPC is a music production center. It's like a digital console that allows you to control samples. So it's kind of like a drum machine, but you can put all kinds of sounds in it. So we have 2 MPC 1000s and 2 MPC 500s for everyone.
So I understand that you're part of the ICAST program. Can you explain what that is?
ICAST is an acronym for Improvisation, Community, and Social Practice. And it's a research institute based out of the University of Guelph. I am a postdoc researcher there. And what that means is my own work explores improvisation in hip-hop cultures. And what improvisation really means is how do we kind of make things up on the spot? How do we deal with the situation that we're in creatively in that moment?
So how did you become interested in this?
Well, at ICAST, part of our mandate is always to work with the community. And back on March 30th, we had an event called Improvisation is Something We Live, and it looked at directly the relationships between improvisation and hip-hop cultures. And out of that, I got the idea that it would be it'd be very cool to try something in the community where we bring digital culture out to young people, and we learn to improvise on these machines and create things, which is hopefully what people are hearing in the background right now.
So how did you start to get involved with this?
Control This?
Yeah.
The idea was that I would either come into a school or find a way to bring all of the research interest at ICASP out into the community, so that we're not creating knowledge in a bubble and we're not sort of in an ivory tower. So we wanted to do the program in the summer, but school was out, so we settled for the first week in September. So I also had a bunch of different ideas of what I wanted to do in terms of improvisation related to hip-hop culture. And because I'm a DJ and I wanted to bring in DJ equipment, but not only is it really bulky and expensive, it's almost impossible for me to get 4 or 5 sets of turntables out here, right? So we settled with MPCs because the MPC is it's like the basic. It's a staple in hip hop production. So all the producers use it.
Has your background influenced you to like this kind of, not music, like the improvisation stuff?
Somewhat, yeah, because my background, in university, I had studied music of the African diaspora, so reggae, hip hop, drum and bass, jazz, blues, spirituals, etc. And all of those musics involve some form of improvisation. Control This is really just an experiment to see if people are interested in the community, and if it's a way that the ICAST program can continue to have an impact in the community by spreading ideas around what it means to improvise and the social value of improvisation. So that's I'm really hoping that the program continues once I move on from Guelph.
That's good. And do you have any other projects in mind besides Control This?
I have several projects in mind, and this is, depending on how this one goes, I would, we'll see how we might be able to do this with computers, using computer software.
But it's still with improv, right?
Yeah, still in terms of, we would still sort of look at how does one do this live on the computer, because in beat making culture, folks are also using computers and MPCs or MPCs. So that's one of the projects, and hopefully, maybe that will happen. I don't know maybe one of the young people in the program now that really likes it can continue it on. Yeah.
Thanks for coming in today, and best of luck for your future projects.
Thank you for having me, Najeli.
You're welcome.
And Toby, are you finding it difficult to memorize your sequences?
No, yeah, I do have to memorize it, like playing a piano.
And Sebastian, is this very different to like playing a traditional instrument like a guitar?
Yeah, it's different to figure out like the beats and patterns and whatnot. So yeah, it's not the same.
But it feels like you're being very musical with it. Is it like, how are you bringing them? Like, are you just doing beats, or are you trying to think of sort of a melody behind it?
Yeah, I'm trying to like figure out melody and like structure like you would structure any song, and just slowly like build up and adding to it, and this eventually just making a whole.
Great.
Control This is a great example of the kind of programming supported by New Youth Radio and Immigrant Services. We're always looking for ways to partner with other artists and community organizations who can bring something unique and creative to our youth programming. In this case, the University of Guelph's ICAS program. We had a really great group of young people who took up the challenge to try something completely different. Thanks to Najeli, Toby, Jacqueline, Marangas, Ernesto, Sebastian and Mac. For the last session of the program, our facilitator Mark Campbell brought in a fantastic guest artist, Andrew Kilgour, also known as Fresh Kills. He's a brilliant young producer and quite inspirational when you see and hear him on the MPC unit.
I wanted to hear what it sounded like without the strings, to see if like that's kind of the challenge, right? Because we started everything kind of built around the strings. Have we built up enough that it stands on its own? And it does. That's when I know that I'm making a beat, right? When I can take out what I started with, and we can still ride out on this, you know? Like someone could rock this easy. And we've created all these weird sounds from the one sample, right? By like using pitches and different tunings and filters, right? The cool thing about that, right, is anything you take from the original sample, you know it's going to work, right? Because it's from what we used before. Especially if we're keeping it within the octaves, you know? This is a cool breakdown right here. Segue. This is our bridge. Take me to the bridge. So that's how you kind of build it, right? Like, you know, start with just the samples, chop all the drums for the chorus or the intro section, and you pull something out for the verses, you know? Pretty funky. It's a hit record. You done it. It's a hit.
Yes.
You guys are really quick. I mean, you got, you know, program, bang, you guys knew what you were doing.
How long have you been doing this for?
Longer than I'd like to admit. Too long.
And how did
10
you,
years.
like, how did you first find, how did you get into doing this sort of thing and sampling and whatnot?
I was a guitar player when I started, and I was messing around with my 4-track. And just like layering I'd play and sing some stuff and just messing around with the 4-track, which is like layering the different tones we do, right? So I'd lay a guitar track and then I'd lay something on top of it. And I really just I enjoyed the mechanics of the production side of it. And so when somebody showed me how to do something like this, that was kind of, taking the rudimentary, me and my guitar and a tape deck and a microphone, that was like the ultimate, like that was like showing somebody a PlayStation that's been fooling around with an Atari their whole lives. So so that's what started it, because when someone showed me how to sample drums and different things and how to build tracks from other sounds, or that's when it just kind of lit up. It was a light bulb going off, and and I sort of delved into it from there. And I always just loved, I don't know why, I mean, it's nerdy of me, but I just like the mechanics of it. Like I enjoyed them. Like, this is just fun. Like, it's cool. I mean, it's kind of complicated in some senses. There's maybe it's like playing a game somehow. So
there is a kind of a physical quality like playing a guitar or an instrument for you.
Yeah, definitely. The MPC in particular, I don't want to make it about any particular piece of gear, but this is a more interactive type of production and making music. Like, it's not, like you can point and click your way to a song if you want. That's not really the way I like to do it. I find that the interface is kind of the whole thing. So, and the interface, the way that you interface with the music affects it. So if it's a guitar, if that's the way you interface with it, that has its own rules and its own methodology to it, which affects the outcome. So I like just messing and trying different things, because the outcome's always different, and it's always the hardest thing I always find is trying to escape your own instincts, right? Because you need to find a way to get beyond. Like, that's what being creative is, right? If you're just sort of regurgitating ideas in your head or something you've seen, you need to be able to take that jump. You need to be able to take a leap away from what you might normally do, and this makes you think about things in a different way. Like, takes you out of it to a certain degree, right? It has its own way of thinking. It makes you think about it differently. So I liked interacting with music in different ways, through, whether it's through a sampler or a guitar or a keyboard or whatever.
Cool. And what did you find the most surprising about the track that you just created?
What do you mean?
Like, were you surprised by it?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I really liked, yeah.
Before I couldn't make a sequence of my own, and then this happened, and then now I have a track. Yeah.
And did you feel that it was, what part of your brain were you using? Were you just sort of letting it go, or were you actually trying to think of almost kind of a mathematical sequence of?
Well, first I was thinking of a sequence, but then it wasn't working, so then I just started pressing pads, and then music played.
Yeah, I really like what you were saying about taking out the strings. That was wild, actually, because it sounded really good, but as soon as you took it out, it's sort of...
It's something else.
Yeah,
yeah.
And that's where it sort of became a really, kind of your track.
Yeah, I like that muting part. It's cool.
It's crazy.
That's how you kind of know, right? I was saying, like, if you take the thing out that you started with and it still works, that's how you know it's, not to say it's done, per se, but that's how you know
it's going on the right track.
Yeah, you've got somewhere, right?
Morris, what about you? Were you surprised by what you created?
Yeah, I was first I didn't really understand it much, and then Andrew helped me and I learned how to make new track, and I liked it. Yeah, it was good.
And do you think you would do anything like this again?
Like this? I don't know.
How can you apply this to your regular life? How do you apply it to your regular life? YouTube.
I do YouTube videos. I do live little things. I actually use it as a performance tool, and and I run my home studio, so you know, making tracks for other people, I can have a business doing that. It's also just fun. It's funny because, you know, because this is what I'm passionate about doing, so it's kind of funny, like where work and play ends is sort of strange. So if I go to the cottage for a couple days, I'll take my MPC with me and make beats, you know, even though that's technically work in some senses. It's just fun, you know, it's fun to be creative, so. And anything creative, I mean, you know, like factoring it into your normal life, I mean, everybody needs to be creative in their normal lives, just generally. I mean, that just sort of has to be a part of your life, and being creative and being passionate, or you're not going to be very happy.
And now, once you've made your samples, do you take them into the computer and then work them out even more?
Yeah, I actually usually in the studio, this is kind of like a starting point. Like I'll start here, and then I'll actually have my computer and different other instruments working in sync with this. So. You know, so I have my synthesizer sounds, and you know, maybe I pick up a guitar, and I can record stuff along with it to the computer, and I have the computer synced with this unit. So I kind of it's almost like I use it as a sketch, and that's not to say that I can't finish things. Like I can create complete things on here, but yeah, there's a lot of other tools and you know, palettes that you can bring to it. Yeah.
Mark, what do you like about this medium?
I think it's boundless. It's boundless in the fact that you can create any kind of music on there. You can take any kind of sound and make it sound another way. And you can put it under your arm and get on an airplane with it, which is great. I mean, you can literally be on the bus or the train and have an idea and tap it up.
But now, is it becoming sort of an obsolete thing, or is it having a renaissance?
That would be a better question for Andrew. There are new machines coming out, but I don't know if there's a renaissance with the 1000.
Well, it's funny, the new Akai thing, the new Akai product is called the Renaissance. I definitely think we're in a DIY culture right now where, you know, everybody's a DJ. I don't want to say everyone's a DJ, everyone's a producer, but everybody can get involved. I mean, really, if you have a computer, everyone has a computer. So if you have a computer, you can, you know, with software, you can start making beats and doing your remixes, you know, different things. Everybody's DJing their own parties and having fun doing that. And I don't know whether it's a renaissance. I definitely think it's a renaissance in the sense the DIY culture is definitely a new thing where everybody's taking part. And what's fun and really cool about that is, on the one hand, you know, everybody's doing it, so there's a lot of it, and it's hard to digest everything. But it's also, it's raising, you know, everyone's learning. Like everyone's sort of understanding the language of production and DJing. Like when people see somebody scratching, everybody knows what that is, whereas 10 years ago, that was not the case. Like that was an alien, weird thing. Like, what's he doing? So the musical IQs of everyone is sort of growing, which is exciting because the more educated an audience is, or the more educated people are, you know, the more interesting and the further things go, you know. And what you're seeing is a lot of exciting new things come out of that because everybody's getting involved, the market is bigger, and that means there's more development and more money and more culture and more things happening. So it's really exciting that way because there's all these new styles. I mean, we were talking about on the way here, you know, new different types of music that have come out over the last 10 years. Like usually you get a new genre would happen every, I don't know, or a new popular genre anyway. It wouldn't happen very often, and now you're seeing all these different types of electronic music, all these different styles, and a lot of things being incorporated together. Like you're hearing influences, world music with rock music, with, you know, there's again like boundless, you know, boundless culturally and boundless from a musical genre standpoint, and you know the technology kind of makes it this giant blending.
Do you do a lot of sampling with other kinds of music?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of, I think, what he was saying about it being boundless. And one of the things that I was really excited about when someone first showed me this stuff, I could get sounds from anywhere. And I remember finding out that a couple of my favorite songs were sampled from Japanese soundtracks, or like they got one sound from that, and then they got another sound from like an audio test record. And that's just kind of a fascinating thing that like one of my favorite songs, the drums from it came from a blues record. Like one of my favorite Beck songs sampled James Brown or something. So that journey is also very exciting, and it's really cool to kind of, like, I've picked up country records that some of my favorite hip-hop producers have used sounds from. So it gives me this feeling like I'm on the trail. Like, oh man, like my favorite producer was here. Like he was here and he took this and used it. So that's a really exciting part of it for me, is the discovery of it. And yeah, it's really limitless where you take sounds from. And it's amazing, when you find out when people are, oh, well, I got this sound from scratching a table and pitching it down and filtering it like we were doing. Just, so it's really just, if you can think it, Yeah, definitely sampling has definitely revived the careers of people that had done music years ago that maybe weren't recognized at the time. I for example, one of Jay-Z's biggest hit songs, he sampled a famous Polish folk song, talking about Eastern Bloc. And it's really funny because, of course, there's a lot of producers. I actually know some Polish producers that would never have sampled that song because it would be like sampling "O Canada," which Classified is done anyway. But the point is no one in Poland would have ever done it. And of course, these American producers did it and made a huge Jay-Z hit song out of it. And yet none of us know that it's like a famous Polish folk song, which is just, it's one of those weird things. So what's interesting, maybe the question there would be, okay, it's not tribute, right? Maybe to that song per se. Is it saving it, or is it amalgamating it? Are we losing it, or are we finding it? It depends on what side of it you're on.
And I think it's who's doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel as if you're doing that. That is your
yeah.
That is your music, your tradition.
Yeah.
Your sort of ancestral music. And if you're doing it, I think I think you have a claim to it in a way that others may not.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because the Polish producers would never have done it for the same reason that we're talking about, right? They would never have done it because they have a reverence for their folk music that they.
But that's
they
also
think of it
their
as
limitation, right? They need
sure.
to also kind of.
It would seem too obvious. The context for them is too obvious, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
But these are all interesting questions. Like, I wouldn't have known. I would never have heard that song. Like, I actually went back and listened to the original, but I only know that because I'm a Jay-Z fan and I nerd out on the beats. I want to know where they get the sounds from and have fun, Sure. So, it's funny too, and everything's becoming fetishized. Like, the sampling has become fetishized to the point of like, yes, I want to know. Okay, this is a Polish singer. Okay, well, what's he all about? And maybe he has more cool stuff. And like, it's this process of discovery, and it's interesting how some of these things play out.
We're going to close our show with a track produced by Fresh Kills, and you'll get to hear his brilliance. It's a track by Fraction, and it's called Extra Science.
Yo, I maintain focus on visions that lie ahead. Prone to purge collisions of visions inside your head. Beat 'em like to death. I'm utterly methodical. Got questions in my brain, so my message is philosophical. Pushing weight from out of my way. Trudge through the trenches of my imagination. My idea is prey. The root of evil, fruit of the divine. They can feel the texture of my spirit in these lines. Though the road got bumps like the skin of a toad's back. Them fist pumping hipsters can't consider me throwback. I throw a jab, some shit to make you think. Subconscious ammunition, my soul got bullet holes from sins. Never been a fiend, don't live in no dream. Versed in the art of collecting paper since the age of 15. Yo, I splashed the moon to form an overseas alliance. My superpower's knowledge of self, extra science.
You wanna get it, give me, I have it. Understand?
I was game wisdom.
What I know.
Thoughts that I felt, that I felt.
Some people are sleeping and slipping and tripping.
Yo, relate. Rest don't know the deal, so that ain't my fault. I self-master. No word of man can pierce my armor. Turn around and strike the owner like the cobra did the snake charmer. I'ma get to the destination with no poison influence. Expectations society breed cause confusion. Free from false illusion, refusing to let my dues pass me by. On the far side of my life I found self. I kept it moving through the truest course. Caught up in this labyrinth with multiple monitors. Lingering like snakes in the now. Not afraid to think. Morality in essence is denial of the nature of sin. Just another man alive trying to provide my extra sense data blend. Robotic schematic is tragic. Ghosts walk the trails that are forgotten. The concept of death and life I'm finding so monotonous. Capture the propulsion of the message in my rhyme. It's gradual destruction of a culture like the Mayans. Extra science.
Get it, give me, I have it. Understand?
I was game wisdom.
What I know.
Thoughts that I felt, that I felt.
Some people are sleeping and slipping and tripping.
Yo, relate. Rest don't know the deal, so that ain't my fault. Extra science, languages from a different alphabet. I stand alone, ain't no regular amalgamist. That's foul ball, outside the line of introspect. On a path to righteousness, one to seek respect. I keep my chin on neck at 90 degrees. Angles are overstanding science, lay the questions that breathe. My mind state is rigid, been conditioned to the climate of this earth. Beyond the silver lining in the words, extra science.